What's your family's darkest secret? A couple of weeks ago I found out that my wife cheated on me 6 years ago. I discovered this when her sister told me after I visited her to see how her first child's delivery went. She confessed that 6 years ago, my wife told her she drunkenly slept with her best friend. According to her, my wife was very sorry. At the time, I was with my son. Immediately after leaving her house, I went to take a paternity test, fearing the worst. A week later, I got the results, and my fears came true. My son was not mine, and for some reason, I began to see the boy differently, more as an acquaintance than a son. With proof in hand, I confronted my wife that night when the child was sleeping. She asked me who told me and I simply said it was none of her business, though it wouldn't take long for her to connect the dots to her sister. That's not my problem now. Regardless, I asked her for a divorce, which is now in process. She was devastated and swore more than once that nothing would ever happen with anyone again, insisting she had been faithful to me in body and soul since then. I held back the urge to insult her to avoid complications during the divorce, not believing a word she said, and blaming the alcohol instead of her. After discussing it, she threatened to demand full custody of the child. I was so annoyed that I told her, okay, I don't want anything to do with something that isn't mine. You keep the child and I'll keep the dogs. After my words, she tried to convince me to take care of the child with her, insisting that I am his father. At that moment, I exploded. I had held back so much that I finally yelled at her to go and take her bastard with her. A week has passed since then, and she went to her parents' house with her kid. She hasn't called me since. She left with everything and the half-asleep child when I yelled at her. It was the first time I really yelled at her, and I'm sure it affected her. I talked to my parents, and my dad told me that I did the right thing and that I shouldn't be raising something that isn't of my blood. I agree with him, but the pain is still there. I'm currently seeing a therapist 3 times a week, who told me that I've already taken the first step, which was to leave behind what causes me pain. It just hurts to know that my family no longer exists. Regarding why my sister-in-law told me everything, she said she felt guilty seeing me always happy with my son, knowing he might not be mine, and that our visit triggered her guilt. I don't know how true that is. I just know that right now, I feel tremendous hatred for my wife and a sense of pain and resentment for the child. Not even 3 days later, my ex came to my house and asked to come in. I went out and met her at the door. I told her she was not going to set foot in my house while I was there and that if she had anything to say, she should say it at the door. She practically